Coming up, we're taking a trip to Tennessee for a railfanning adventure. We'll see big freight operations and a small commuter line in Nashville, plus a Santa Fe surprise. Then it's off to the Hook and Eye line to ride over the famous Hiwassee Loop. And we'll finish our journey with steam and some SLUGs in Chattanooga. All aboard, that's all next. Nashville, Tennessee, the Music City. But long before it got that title, the railroads helped to put this place on the map. Passenger trains operated by railroads like the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railway and the Louisville and Nashville once stopped at the city's Union Station. But today, the station is a hotel, and Nashville isn't even served by Amtrak. However, the city is still a major CSX freight hub. There's no doubt, Radnor Yard is a critical part of that company's operations. This is a busy place, but what makes it special is its hump yard. Yards like this have been deactivated by many railroads over the years. The concept is fairly simple. Push freight cars over a man-made hill and use gravity and a little bit of technology to sort them. I did a full video about this yard and I'll include a link below. Radnor Yard is huge and easy to spot, but what I wanted to see next to Nashville took a little bit longer to find. Now, I really wanted to do some railfanning downtown, but on a warm Friday afternoon in October, this place was really congested and parking was expensive. This is the best I could do. But after a lot of driving around, I was eventually rewarded. How about this? An old Santa Fe locomotive sitting near the heart of downtown Nashville. And coupled up to that, an ex-Conrail unit. There was also another ex-ATSF engine nearby. These are sitting on the Nashville and Western, which, along with the Nashville and Eastern, is owned by R.J. Corman. 4219 is a General Electric B-23-7 and was built in 1978. These are definitely cool, but it sure would be nice to see them running. I don't know when they moved last. My guess is it's probably been a while. Okay, we've got some more railroad classics to look at, and these actually run. The WeGo Star, formerly known as the Music City Star, goes from downtown Nashville to the town of Lebanon, which is around 30 miles to the east. It runs on tracks operated by the Nashville and Eastern Railroad. I did not have to do much waiting here. The trains I recorded were right on time. Plus, I got to see some wildlife. The coaches on these trains were once used by Chicago's Metro. And the locomotives, well, those are rebuilt ex-Amtrak Electromotive Division F40PHs. Amtrak no longer uses engines like these, but it's nice to see some are still operating, especially in the South. So now, with the sun going down, it's time to end day one of this Tennessee railfanning adventure, but don't worry, there's much more to come. Day 2 begins with some beautiful fall scenery. We're on our way to Etowah, Tennessee, which is around 180 miles from Nashville. As I got close, there was one stop I just had to make. Welcome to Buc-ee's, a convenience store, gas station, and souvenir shop all rolled into one. This is their location in Crossville, Tennessee. Now, Buc-ee's started in Texas, so you know everything here is going to be supersized. So if you're ever passing by one of these places, definitely stop in. it's quite an experience. Okay, we're now off the road and trackside again. The CSX yard here in Etowah doesn't really compare to the one in Nashville, but it's certainly pretty up here. Those mountains in the distance are impressive. It's fairly obvious, this was Louisville and Nashville territory. But the main line is now operated by CSX and goes from Cincinnati to Atlanta. This building used to house a depot and division offices. It's now a small museum, and the folks here are more than happy to show you around. So with some sightseeing out of the way, it's time to get ready for day 3 of this adventure. Coming up, we're getting off the sidelines and into the game. Yeah, we're about to ride the rails. It's early, on a cold Sunday morning. I'm with Ben Harrell and a group from the North American Railcar Operators Association, or NARCOA, and we're about to ride on the Hook and Eye line. It'll be about a 47-mile ride southeast from here in Delano, Tennessee to McKaysville, Georgia. Like that yard we just saw, this also used to be part of the Louisville and Nashville. These days, the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum operates a tourist train on this line. But we'll be traveling in something a little bit smaller. These are speeders, or motor cars. Before the days of high rail pickups, these machines were used to inspect the right-of-way and transport workers to job sites. The members of NARCOA now use them to see railroads all around North America. And by the way, they do it safely and legally with the permission of the railroads they're operating on. And speaking of operating, it's time to go. It is quite a sight seeing so many motor cars in one place. Much of our journey today will take us along the Hiwassee River. The first major landmark we come to is this old bridge. You outdoors men and women out there might know that the Hiwassee River is popular with whitewater rafters. The water looks like glass here, but there are rapids on this river. This is a part of the Hiwassee where the current gets a little stronger. We've now stopped at the powerhouse for the Appalachia Dam. The dam itself is actually 12 miles away in North Carolina. Conduit and huge pipes are used to get the water here so they can generate electricity. The engineering is impressive and so is the view, especially from this suspension bridge over the river. Alright, it's now time to get back on the move. Let me tell you, fall is a great time to come up here, whether you're riding the rails or not. Okay, now it's time to look at what gives this stretch of railroad its name, the Hook and Eye. Near the town of Talking Rock, Georgia, the hook referred to a double reverse curve on the line. That was eventually removed and the line was straightened. But the eye still exists, and it's really impressive. This is also called the Hiwassee Loop. It helped the L&N climb this mountain. At this point, you can see where the railroad crosses over itself. If it was long enough, the engineer would have been able to look down and see the rear of his train as he crossed this trestle. There is no question, the changing leaves and cool air up here are amazing this time of year. And it's hard to beat seeing this part of Tennessee from an open-air motor car. Okay, after a 3-hour ride, we've arrived in Copperhill, Tennessee. Or are we in McKaysville, Georgia? Well, if you're standing on this blue line, both answers are correct. As you might have guessed, Copperhill was a copper mining town from the mid-1800s until the 1980s. It, along with its twin city McKaysville, are tourist destinations now. As you can see, a river runs through here. It's called the Ocoee when you're in Tennessee, and the Toccoa when you cross into Georgia. This was a great place to stop after a long ride. And you can see we've got a lot of motor cars in this group today. But now, it's time to turn these things around and head back. The car we're riding in, and many of the other ones, actually have built-in turntables so they can change directions relatively quickly. Here's one last look at Copperhill and the small yard here. One of the great things about the return trip on this line is that we get to go over the Hiwassee Loop again. And so that ends our journey on the Hook and Eye. If you ever get a chance to ride on this line, take it. No matter what time of year, or if you're in a motor car or a train, it is breathtaking. One of the final stops on this Tennessee railfanning adventure might be familiar to many of you, the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum in Chattanooga. A friend of mine and I went here back in June of 2022. They've got quite a collection of rail equipment. This 6-axle Fairbanks Moore's Baby Trainmaster, built in 1958, is a relatively new addition. But we are not here to look at static displays. No, this trip is all about riding the rails. And not as normal passengers. We'll be riding in the cab of Southern Railway number 4501. I did a full video about this amazing experience, and I'll include a link below. After the ride, it was time to see what the freight railroad scene was like in Chattanooga. If you're railfanning here, you have got to visit this cliff overlooking Norfolk Southern's DeButts Yard. Now, I am certainly not the first railfan or YouTuber to stop here. From the cliff, you can see CSX and Norfolk Southern trains on the main line, and other traffic in the yard. Here's a remote control mother slug set that's being used for switching. You'll notice no one is in the cab. And by the way, a slug has no diesel engine and relies on the so-called mother unit for electricity to power its traction motors. A manned SD40-2 was also working nearby. There's plenty to see at the other end of the yard too. This is the Chattanooga Diesel Shop. You might remember that some of Norfolk Southern's heritage units were painted here. Now, I believe these locomotives, which were on the edge of the property, were currently out of service. Here's another slug, but this one doesn't have an operator's cab. The hump here houses dynamic braking equipment. Alright, the last stop today is Tin Bridge and the Chickamauga Dam. The dam was built in the 1930s as part of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. On this side of the dam is the Tennessee River, and on the other side, Chickamauga Lake. And this massive structure, a vertical lift bridge, was completed in 1920. Unfortunately, we didn't see any Norfolk Southern trains running across the bridge today, but there were plenty of people out here enjoying a day on the water. This is a great place to fish, and here's how the pros do it. A big thanks to Ben Harrell and Narcoa for letting me tag along on that motorcar ride. If you want to learn more about their organization, visit narcoa.org. And by the way, you don't even need to own a motor car to join. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.